under 680, you get killed. 660 to 679 is 4.5, 640 to 659 is 4.625, 620 to 639 if you got approved be 4.75. So as you can see, we post the rates on the internet and it all looks good and people think that they're going to get that, but they're not necessarily going to get that. So the rates that you normally see on the internet, okay, is you're going to see, 25% down, certain loan size, 740 or better credit score because you're going to get the best interest rates. Okay, so that's what you're going to usually see. And then what you go is if you go on some of these online places, they'll say, 3.75, but they, you got to pay points. You got a 10-day lock. You got all these crazy fees. So this is what a lot of them will do. You read it in the paper. People say, "Oh, but I saw in the paper." Yeah, but that's not reality. They just did that so you would call them. And they're not going to really give you that rate unless you pay points and so on. Now we know points is a bad word. Depends which programs you can qualify for as well. Okay.
Does this change depending on how much you're putting down?
Yeah, it does. So if you put down 25%, you're going to have the best situation. Actually, I was telling Bert earlier, like for example, on Friday, I last people at 3.875 on a 30-year fixed. Okay, but I did have pricing for one guy. He had 50% equity. He got 3.75 on a 30-year fixed because he had so much equity. There's no risk, so it's priced based on risk, perceived risk.
Randy, are you going to talk a little bit about condos and how they will qualify
Yep.
for? Okay.
Yep, we'll talk about that as well.
Okay.
Definitely. What makes up your closing costs? Okay, attorney's fees. Okay. Attorney's fees can vary, attorney to attorney, okay? What we'll normally do is we'll, with your package that we send out to you, we'll send a good faith estimate, okay? And GFE or good faith estimate, okay? On there we don't have attorney's fees, but attorney's fees normally range in the area of $400 to $800 I've seen. It's probably the highest I've seen. So $800 might be a little steep, probably $500, $600 is probably a going rate. Don't you agree, Bert?
Right around 6 is what
Yeah.
I've been seeing in the city here.
In that area.
Yeah.
Property tax, okay. What happens is normally if you're not putting down 20% or more, you have to escrow, okay? Escrow means that your loan company will pay the taxes for you, and each month you pay them your principal and interest payment. You also pay for your taxes and your insurance in there as well, okay? And what you do at closing is you have to put enough money into this escrow account to get it started so that whenever that first payment is due, then you'll have enough money in there to pay that, or they will have enough money in there to pay that. And normally what they'll do is they'll take however many months that is, plus 2 months. They take 2-month cushion to put that in there as well. And the way taxes are paid in Illinois, they're paid in arrears. So here in 2012, now we have a payment coming up here in March, April, depending on how Cook County quick they are. For the taxes due, you pay them twice a year, so you pay March, April, and then also September, October in Cook County. And then what happens is the March, April payment is for the first half of 2011, okay? And then the September, October is for the second half of 2011. So you always pay them in arrears. So what happens at closing is that you're going to have to put money in there so that in March or April or September or October, you'll have enough money in there that the loan company can pay the 6 months worth, okay? And then plus the 2 months cushion. But also what's going to happen is the seller, they're going to give you a credit back. They're going to give you that money back because you didn't live there in 2011. So let's say, for example, you closed today, you're going to get 12 months. For last year, you're going to get, if the tax bill was $5,000, they're going to give you a credit, $5,000, plus any time they had, for this month, almost 1 month, so like almost 13 months worth of credit back to you. Then of that 13 months, you might put in 8 months into the escrow, okay? So you're still 5 months ahead. Now when you go to sell it, you got to give the 13 months, that's where you get hurt. So usually when you go to buy a house, the amount that you have to bring to closing, you're like, oh wow, this isn't bad at all. And then when you go to your sell and closing, you're like, wow, I was really expecting to get more money. It's because of the tax thing. That's how that works. Okay. Okay, then the other thing that you have to do is you have to do interest. You have to pay interest. And the way interest works as well is paid in arrears. So when you make a mortgage payment, let's say you pay it in your February payment, it's for interest that the bank had earned throughout the month of January. Okay, so what's going to happen is you'll have a principal balance. So your principal balance is $200,000. Then your interest charge, let's say it's $700. Okay, so you have to pay, but your payments, let's say it's $1,000. You paid the $1,000. Now your balance is back down to $200,000, but you had to pay that interest. So what happens at a real estate closing when you buy a new home? Let's say you closed the 15th of February. This year, it's leap year, it's 29 days in February. So if you close on the 15th, you'd have to pay from the 15th to the 29th. You have to pay 14 days worth of interest right at closing. Because what happens is it's hard for the lender to get a statement to you by March, but then you won't have a payment due until April. You won't have your first payment won't be due until April. So that's how that would work on a new closing. Origination or discount fees. Okay.